Took you how many years to get to 200 crores with Mitsubishi?
10 years.
10 years.
10-12 years.
Lovely. आज as a common man, if मैं घर पे AC लगाना चाहता हूँ, I would go to a Crore or some retail store like that and ask them कि मेरे को जो भी brand है सबसे अच्छा quality सबसे सस्ते मेरे को दे दो. They will send someone load it up into my house.
Correct.
That's what it happens.
Cost of an air conditioner is one time, but the running of an air conditioner is multiple times of the cost of the air conditioner itself. I was like kind of borderline case, like 10, 12 of my best years of my career has gone down. 98 में आ गया वापस नीचे. I'd be a fool if I don't learn from what has happened.
Hi Ajit, welcome to Ing Stories.
Thanks, Ajit. Thanks for the invite.
So we've been in touch for a while. We've done this on the other side. So it was a pleasure talking to you then, and I'm all excited to have this conversation with you, knowing about your business, which is air conditioning. Air conditioning as a word is like so common and so simple for everyone to understand. But while I was speaking to you, I realized that this is such a complicated industry. So let's start exactly what is the air conditioning and what are you doing in this space?
Okay, so first is trying to understand air conditioning. Air conditioning per se is not such a very complex topic in its basics. How do you explain air conditioning very simply? You take a cube of ice, you put it into your palm and you close it.
Okay.
What happens to the palm?
Cold.
Cold. What happens to the ice?
It melts.
Melts. So this is 8th standard physics. What's actually happened is the heat from your body has got transformed into the ice, which is why it's got cold. And because it's got transformed into the ice, it has changed its state.
Correct.
This is air conditioning, laws of heat transfer.
Okay.
This is the basic principle of air conditioning. And then you apply this basic principle into different sectors.
Okay.
One is space cooling,
Okay.
which is your house, offices, large projects, malls, train stations, airports, hospitals, hotels. Then there is pharma applications, there is industrial applications, there's data cooling, there is refrigeration, there is cold storage. It is just different applications related to the whole process of heat transfer. That's the whole world of air conditioning that we are in.
So in this space, what are you doing? Which is your expertise?
So most of us choose a segment. I have chosen the space cooling segment.
Space cooling.
Space cooling in the sense, you want to do up a large hotel.
Okay.
You want to do up a house. We do a lot of like large retail outlet. Probably a IT park which is coming up. Probably a hotel that's coming up. That's the area of space that we specialize in, where there are three aspects. One is you design the system, which is energy efficient, cost effective, and then you make sure you put that system and construct it. It's more like a construction activity.
Okay.
And once that is done, you stand by the life cycle of that product to do maintenance and support.
Okay.
Now the space cooling is the largest segment. So I just have chosen to be there and move up the value chain in space cooling.
Okay.
So where can you bring engineering values into space cooling? Because it's just not about cooling. It's also got to do with energy efficiency. It's also got to do with sustainability.
Okay.
And it's also got to do with air quality.
Okay.
So that's the space that I stay focused on.
So when you say this space cooling, I believe it's a hyper competitive space. But what I could understand what you're saying is you have moved up the value chain. So you're trying to put the competition down below you and move into something which is specialized. So you're giving highly technical services or better engineering services to your client. So what has been your thought process around this thought? Did you start from the bottom or did you choose to be at the higher end of the spectrum?
So typically everybody who starts off would start like in a trading activity.
Okay.
You buy an air conditioner, you sell an air conditioner, then you would probably say that, let me do the value addition. The value addition is you buy an air conditioner, you install an air conditioner. That is a value proposition. That's where the crowd is. That's what generically everybody does it. The value proposition increases when you bring in engineering to it. How do you design systems? How do I say, for example, if a hotel is coming up, it's not one brand that can give you the entire solution. There is one air conditioning. How do you put that air conditioning in such a way that there is efficiency in the system? Then how do you build the air quality? Then if there are ventilation requirements, like say for basement parking, how do you integrate basement parking? then there are cold rooms, refrigeration around it. How do you actually put, so it's like a system integration.
System integration.
You got to pick up so many things together and then put it together. What you need kind of cooling in the rooms and what you need in banquets, what you need ventilations in the kitchen are all different. So that requires a certain set of engineering skills. And those skills are ones which help you move up the value chain. And those are the kind of skill sets that we have brought to the market and we offer to the customers. So in a way, you are breaking away from the crowd, you're moving up the ladder, but it's also a niche segment that you're kind of playing.
Right.
You want to offer solution-based things rather than which is the best air conditioner. That's not the space that you want to be in.
Correct.
You want to be in what's the right solution that you can we design it for you.
यानी if I could understand better कि आज as a common man, if मैं घर पे AC लगाना चाहता हूँ, I would go to a Croma or some retail store like that and ask them कि मेरे को जो भी brand है सबसे अच्छा quality सबसे सस्ते मेरे को दे दो. They will send someone load it up into my house.
Correct.
That's what it happens. Whereas जो आप कर रहे हो इसके अंदर you are understanding a complex structure which has different kinds of needs और उसके requirement के हिसाब से you're building a solution for them.
Absolutely.
Which in simpler terms is system integration.
Absolutely. And let's say even if it's a simple, let's take what everyone understands is your house air conditioning, like how you explained. I go to a shop, you tell him this is my square feet, he gives it to you. That's a very simple way to do it, and that's how 80%, 90% of the market runs. But if I was supposed to get into the house, I would look at various factors. I would say, are you on the top floor? Are you west facing?
Okay.
Okay. How long is your indoor to outdoor? And then decide which is the optimal solution for you.
Oh.
The reason is the cost of an air conditioner is one time, but the running of an air conditioner is multiple times of the cost of the air conditioner itself. Because 70 to 80% of your energy bills, whether it's your office or your house, is air conditioning.
Right.
Because lights are now LED, they're efficient. Then you only have geysers in your house. That also is not used every time.
Right.
But in a tropical climate like ours, we use air conditioners
Practically
8 to 10 hours.
every day.
Every day. So 70 to 80% of your energy bills come from air conditioning.
True.
So that's the big difference. Just to give you a,
Correct.
how the market
So
operates.
even while buying one in your house, there is a science to it. You just can't
100%.
go and buy because आपका area इतना है. You need to understand
How
a lot
it
more,
goes.
and that's where experts like you come in.
Yeah, but since it's not so profitable only to do that, we use that skill sets in larger turnkey projects.
Right.
Because there you can't do without it,
Right.
and the remuneration is much better. So you want to stay focused in the larger scale.
True.
And there are fewer players out there with that knowledge and intelligence.
Great. So you've been, in this space for probably like 25 plus years now.
Yeah.
And how do you get in, and what has been your journey in this space, and where are you standing today?
So I'll tell you how this whole thing started. I worked in various corporates for about 15 years. One of my stints with air conditioning was when I was part of the Videocon team.
Okay.
And when Videocon launched air conditioners into India, I was very fortunate to be part of that whole process.
Nice.
So that became...
Just give the year for a reference context के लिए लोगों को समझने.
This is probably in the 90s.
90s. Okay.
Yeah, 1995 or
Okay.
that should bear me the year.
Around 30
That
years
was the
back.
time when Videocon signed up with the erstwhile company called as Matsushita, which now is Panasonic.
Okay.
So they had a washing machine with this,
Okay.
and they used that and they tied up with it. So those days, air conditioners was only the Carrier, Blue Star, Voltas kind of a thing. There was no other international brands, and this was one Indian company. LG Samsung had not come in by then. This was one Indian company which had actually, these are companies of the Asian Games era.
Okay.
With CTV, and Videocon was one of them.
Okay.
And that's my first exposure into the industry per se. And I thought it was very exciting. It's a very cool industry. And my common sense told me that we are a tropical country. In a tropical country, if air conditioners don't sell, then where the hell is it going to sell? So I think that caught my fascination.
Okay.
And then as the industry moved, I kind of joined the family business.
Okay.
So this was a business which was run by my in-laws.
Okay.
And they had a small business which was actually running, buying air conditioners and Videocon air conditioners and selling and, dealing with Carrier and all that stuff. So it was a much smaller business of about 25 people.
Okay.
My father-in-law used to run that business. And that's how I used to work. And then I used to work for a German company then, post-marriage. And then an interesting offer came to him and he said that, there is a Japanese company that wants to come into India. Would you like to, what do you think about this opportunity? We were just having a discussion. So I said, listen, it's good opportunity. They've just come for a survey. So they did their survey, and then they said, look, India is not the market. It's not ready for us, because those days import duties was 200%.
Acha.
Yeah.
200%.
200% was the import duties.
Okay.
And this was when India was just opening up. The Koreans were just stepping in.
Between 95 to 2000?
Yeah, it was just opening up in a big way. The reforms were happening, and we were just opening up completely. So all the MNCs were just coming in at that time. And they said, we are very premium, we cannot do it. So I said, no, we should check it out. And then I remember one of the big opportunities that I sensed was there was a free trade agreement which was coming with ASEAN and with Thailand. So we went up to them and we said that, hey, why don't we do a trial for you?
Okay.
We'll give you the money up front, sell us one container. And that's when I also joined the business. He said, yeah, okay, we don't mind. So I said, chal. Then I quit my job and I joined the business. Very small, and I was also worked up. I said, क्या होएगा? Fail होएगा तो दूसरा नौकरी कर लेगा यार, क्या फर्क पड़ता है? But give it an opportunity, try it out.
Give it a shot.
So that's how it started. From there, over the next 10 years, we built a 150-200 crore company.
Wow.
300 people, 13 offices across the country, and we became Indian partners to the Mitsubishi Electric air conditioners in India. So we built that brand in India.
Wow.
Literally. And
so was it like a JV, or was it what kind of an understanding or arrangement
just a
you had?
Distribution arrangement.
Okay.
It was just a distribution arrangement. We had just an exclusive distribution arrangement.
Okay.
So a company that never thought that Indian market was ready.
Indian market was exciting.
We actually just took it out, and we made sure that the brand just became, and it was a premium brand, and we positioned it premium.
It took you how many years to get to 200 crores with Mitsubishi?
10 years.
10 years.
10, 12 years.
Lovely.
That's the kind of business that we built. And we were among the first few companies which launched the VRF systems, which was just a very new technology. When I did not understand the technology in the first place till I went to Japan, attended many classes. I used to go only to study this. And then I realized that this was a very efficient system. So we were among the first few people who started doing that business in India. Of course, those days, the way you run the business was different, because companies could import directly. So if an IT company was coming, they would place the order directly, and then the equipment would come, and then we would support and install and maintain everything. Now it doesn't happen. So if you put all those together, we were fairly a large organization.
So what happened? I mean, is the association with Mitsubishi still there, or you?
It's there, but it's in a different way.
Okay.
What actually happened was, 12 years down the lane, the Indian market was more mature, and then they decided that they want to set up their office in India.
Okay.
So they want to set up a subsidiary office in India, and they said, listen, we'd like to do it by ourselves. So we were no more exclusive, and the whole business which was there large suddenly did not exist.
Oh.
Because it did not exist, because they said we will do it ourselves. We don't need
now
you per se.
Now we don't need you exclusively.
We don't need you. Yeah,
we'll use you as and when we need.
Yeah, we'll do with you. If you want, you can buy from us, but we don't need you to build that whole thing.
Oh.
And that was a very difficult time for us, because we had 300 employees, 13 offices, a huge amount of stocks that we were carrying, we had market debts, all that kind of stuff. So a very difficult phase of about 3-4 years.
Okay.
While we had other brands, we also by that time had partnered with an American brand called as York, with a Chinese company called as TCL. But at that one point, my biggest realization was that, listen, I can't put 10-12 years into my business and then suddenly be left high and dry. So one of the things that I took a stand was that from here onwards, if I have to grow, one is surviving from this whole hit, but if I have to continue this business, it'll be only through JVs. So I wrote to these companies and I said that, listen, are you ready to do a JV with me, where we have an official, where I know I can build the business, but eventually what should be the end goal? Because my end goal was, can I set up a JV and a manufacturing plant and help you run that factory?
Right.
And that's the whole idea which I wanted to do. None of these guys agreed. They said, no, we don't want to do it. And I said, I don't want history to be repeated. I'd be a fool if I don't learn from what has happened and continue to be blind saying that, acha, ye nahi to dusra brand khada karega. I didn't want to be that. So I took the most difficult decision and I said, I will wind up that business.
Oh, okay. Tell me more then.
So we said, we're going to wind up that business.
So you wound up a 200 crore business.
Completely. More than that value was 300 people.
I'm sure, yeah. I mean, all the costs associated with that,
Yeah.
because we are running such a large enterprise. There are so many people,
Correct.
and the vendors.
Yeah, and see, what happens is with people is, most of these people hang around with you because you have shown them the vision, right? That this is where we are going as an organization.
True.
And they've all seen a small 4.5, 5 crore company go and become like a large organization. And some of them had stuck around through the entire journey.
Sure.
So it's very, very difficult. So I think the entire process, one is of course getting the cash flow and making sure you don't go bankrupt, also handling these 300 people. So one of the things that we did is I wrote to all the companies, all my competitors, all the other brands. Luckily I was pretty well networked, so I knew all of them. And I made a chart for each of my employees. I told them, listen, 3 months, we need to wind up, I can't afford it. So some of them got jobs, not everybody gets, right? So I made a report based on the last 10 years, how good the guy is and why I would like to retain him and why I have to let go of him. So I am going to recommend this person in your company for these kind of jobs, and this is what you should expect. So I made that document, I emailed it to all the MDs and made sure most of them got a job. So
nice.
So one of the things, and I did not tell anybody about it, I just did it myself quietly because I wanted to make sure in 3 months they all got a job.
Okay.
And my question was very simple. These are guys whom if I was continuing, I would never sack them. I would do everything to retain them.
Right.
So why not I do that? So in a way that worked. So today, some of the guys who have been working with us are all working with large organizations, doing very well in their careers.
I'm sure.
So I think that journey was a very painful one, but that was a big correction we took. And but then we survived it. We didn't go bankrupt. We redid everything that we had already done.
So what did you do next from there?
So actually I didn't know what to do at that time. And honestly, I was like kind of, borderline case, like, 10, 12 of my best years of my career has gone down.
Right.
I mean, you're in your 40s now.
Yeah.
40, 45s and everything. And he said, I lost my good 10 years, of what I had built.
Correct.
And it's like I felt like I'm playing a snake and ladder game. 98 पे आ गया वापस नीचे. It's very frustrating,
I can imagine.
And I didn't know
what to do. It becomes that much more difficult at post 45 कि अभी कैसे इसको वापस खड़ा करना है.
So I didn't know what to do. So I said, okay, we have to survive. We need to do a business. I know air conditioning. We had this this little business of retailing and doing that. So I said, okay, first is have a steady business. So what we did is we went into a solution-centric engineering. So we built a projects business. And that business we slowly started building up.
Okay.
That was like the entire project business is offering solutions. How do we design systems and how do we do it? So we had fair credibility. Okay. We used that because we had already done large turnkey projects with the exclusive brand that we had. We reached out to a few other companies and said that, would you like to partner? They said, yeah, we would like to partner. But that 4-5 years was making sure that all your debts were cleared. There was enough money to keep your life going and making sure everything was fine. And we kind of recovered from there. And I started building the solution-centric business. Now, that's a very brick and mortar business. In a brick and mortar business, you can make money.
Yeah.
Okay, you can make a profit. You can make money. But you can't create wealth.
Okay.
There are challenges in its scalability. At least in the nature of this business. Now you have to understand what is there in the business. I don't have a brand. I don't have a product. Brand is someone else's, product is someone else's. We are only system integrators. Correct. So now if you're going to put up a hotel, which is air conditioning is about 5 crores to 6 crores, as a business owner, you understand one thing, that जब तक मैं इसके साथ negotiate कर रहा है, I have the upper hand. Once I've awarded the contract to this company, then he decides what my future is.
True.
Because if he doesn't do a good job, it's going to affect my project. If he delays the project, I'm going to pay money. So most large developers or hoteliers, or for that matter, anybody who puts up a large project wants to know who the guy is, who the owner is. At one front, they have the pricing, design, all that stuff you can get from 10 people. But what's the credibility of the guy who runs that company? So he wants to know you. Now when he knows you, there is an advantage. He gives it to you, he likes you, he knows you, he sees your background. But from a scalability perspective, that's a hindrance. Because if you are going to be the bottleneck to grow your business, that business is not scalable.
Makes sense.
So a realization was that I recovered, I'm doing very well, I've got a niche segment which I'm doing, but I also realized, I can't make a big business out of it. And somehow, I think because of my little corporate background, I've always believed in scale. I mean, there's no fun only making money because there's
only that much that you can do with wealth. I mean,
and only that, and there's only so much money you require here.
True.
You don't require more than that, and COVID has revalidated that.
True.
That there's only so much money that you require.
You can find happiness in smaller things in life.
And you don't need too much of money for that, right?
Correct.
But then what do you do with it?
Correct.
I mean, you want to build something, right? You have some expertise. You want to build something. You want to create something that lives beyond you. That it's kind of something that you want to contribute, make meaning out of that journey, right? So that's the whole focus. So I kept running my business. We cleared and we were doing very well. And then I was keep wondering. I said, like typically, ab kya naya kare? What should be the new business to get into?
Okay.
And I just couldn't think at all. So one of the things that I started doing was I started going for these startup events. बोला ये बच्चे लोग कैसा करता है? How do they do it? How do they get these ideas for new business?
For context, which year are we talking about?
This is in 2012, 2015.
Okay.
Around that space. About 12 to 15.
Okay, yeah.
So I used to go for all these events, which was
and
startup events.
That's when the tech thing in India was
already
picking
mature.
up.
Yeah, it was picking up. The startup ecosystem was just picking up.
Of the country, just Ola and Flipkart, they all started scaling up around those times.
Correct.
Okay, I mean, just to give a context to our listeners that Ajit was contemplating a tech kind of enabled business in air conditioning around those times. Is what I'm trying to hint at. Okay.
Yeah. So I actually started attending these events only with the idea to figure out how are these youngsters finding the business. So when I used to go there for these events, I'm the only guy with grey hair. Okay. And half of these kids used to think that I'm an investor. Okay. And they used to come and bounce ideas. They used to talk to me about it. And I used to just hang around there. But I'll tell you, it was a very valuable insight because all of us in brick and mortar tend to look at what is the new business to start. We are always looking for a new business. But my learning from there was that, we are problem solvers. They solve problems. So my takeaway was that, look for a problem. If you're able to look for a problem and you solve that problem, that's your business. And what was my expertise? HVAC domain.
Air conditioning.
So I went back into my domain, deep dive to understand what my industry problems were.
Okay.
Because I knew that very well. That was the only space that I knew very well. So I went around to understand. And tech was my hobby. I was already very close to tech in terms of cloud, technology and everything. So I just understood the problem, married the two, and I started a technology venture called as Pureblu.
Okay. So what do you do in Pureblu exactly?
So in Pureblu, what we did is, we actually, one of the problems that this industry faces is digitization. They don't use much software.
Okay.
Everyone tends to understand software from their principal companies.
Okay.
That is, if I'm a big multinational companies dealer, I should do what they are using. And half of these guys use ERP, SAP and everything. Now that's expensive.
True.
And the processes and the quality of people that you have in your organization in an MSME,
you can't handle SAP.
Can't handle it. You just can't handle it. So we said, how can we build something which is low cost, effective? So what we did is we built a simple software for sales, for service.
Okay.
That you can use a cloud-based at a very low cost and start using it.
Okay.
And bring efficiency in your system.
Okay.
All right. So the first thing that we did is we built a sales platform, a service platform. Lots of and mind you, these were all who are my customers? My so-called competitors.
Right. All of them are going to be a competitor.
Yeah.
Customers now.
So the interesting part is, because I was in distribution and I had a lot of credibility, a lot of the people don't see me as competitors.
I'm sure.
They say that look, if he's done it right. You know, let's try it out. Maybe apna hi aadmi hai, let's do it with him. That element of trust and faith was there, and they knew this guy means credibility something. So a lot of people just signed up, started using it very low cost. Now, while we had a lot of adoption around this, we went and we launched a second product, which is an enterprise solution. So by people who are using this service software, we realized who are the guys who are good in their processes and who have good people who are managing their business. That was simple analytics. You don't even have to talk, you don't have to see the data or anything of that sort. It's just simple analytics. You can understand who are the guys who are doing it very effectively. So we said, these are the guys whom we need to partner with.
Okay.
Then what we did is we launched an enterprise solution. Okay. So this is a problem which customers had. For example, one of my biggest customers is Wellness Forever.
Okay.
Similarly, Isprava, banks, so many of them. Now I'll explain a customer like Wellness Forever. They're in 5 states. They've got about 2,000 to 3,000 pharmacy chains. Each outlet has about close to 5 or 6 air conditioners, about 10 to 12 air conditioners. They need someone to take care of those air conditioners.
Right.
And they are dealing with 40, 50 different vendors. And they also have a very large team to manage it. Now, those guys are saying that, look, can't somebody manage this, because this is not my core business.
Correct.
Somebody else should manage it for me.
Correct.
Okay, I am good in retailing. Let me stay focused in my pharmacy business.
Right.
So what we went to them and we told them is that, hey, you know what? Why don't I manage it to you across the country?
Okay.
He said, done. Can you do it? Please do it. So he offloads it. That's an annual maintenance contract.
Okay.
What we do is we put IoT devices, which is we built, which monitors energy, air quality and everything. And we offer them a standard dashboard. Okay. So if a store manager has a problem, he'll go to WhatsApp. He will just log a complaint. The WhatsApp is integrated into a platform. The platform will identify the machine, go through the history, find out what could be the probable solutions, problems, identify the engineer, and allocate the technician. Automatic. And the person sitting in the head office, whether in my office or at the client space, can actually see this all happening. What's happening. So we automated the whole thing. Okay. And that's how the whole process started working. And we started to build data into the system. Now what we're doing is we are implementing artificial intelligence into it. And what we are doing is we are predicting failures based on this data
in advance.
Okay. So we are actually now telling which air conditioner can fail, what could be the life of an air conditioner in a certain specific area, which can live for 4 years, which can live for 15 years, which is the right type of air conditioner that you should install in these places, while the mundane activity of maintenance is all taken care of. And over a period of time, our focus is not to be reactive. I have a problem, you have a problem, I react to it. Our approach is, how do I make sure complaints itself go down?
Yeah.
Second, how do I make it predictive before it happens? So reactive portion should become only 20%. 80% should be predictive.
Right.
And that's the whole business model that we built. And who is executing it? These partners
who are
using our software. So we are now
collaborators. So you build a platform for them to use and become more efficient.
Yeah. So they use our platform to bring efficiency into their own business, but because they are becoming efficient, they are also becoming partners to us and getting business.
Lovely.
My clients are now happier because now they don't have to break this head. They have live view of what's happening. They have data analytics around it. And they have one guy who's handling everything. Awesome. So that's the whole services model. Then we went one step ahead. Then we built a sales and project management model. So that's just been rolled out. And our plan is, how do we connect this to the Amazon, Flipkarts, the Vijay Sales, Chroma and everybody, where you should be able to go and buy an air conditioner and you should be able to get a reliable installer and maintenance partner. So when you buy it, the data should come into our system, and then it should identify who's the right guy, and he should be able to.
But is it not when you buy one on Amazon automatically, or that brand automatically assigns some installer to come to your residence?
So here's the problem. This industry is facing a huge skilling issue.
Okay. These guys don't know the basics.
The quality of, there are 2-3 things that you have to understand this industry is facing. 80% of your air conditioning bill, electricity bill comes from air conditioners, even if it's your house or office or anything.
Correct.
And that energy efficiency can be fixed if you install it correctly, okay, and if you maintain it correctly. See, the product is 26 companies. With BE star labeling, your products have improved. It's a more easier thing. The problem is when you install air conditioners, how do you know the guy who comes to install is actually qualified? Because this country doesn't have certification.
Correct.
Anybody can walk in and say he's an AC technician. That's a 230 volt air conditioner lying outside your house, an expensive one. How do you know whether he's helping you solve it or he's learning on your machine? And today, if you go, most of these guys who are selling air conditioners, their biggest pain point is installations. Like during the summer.
So you're helping these guys streamline that problem.
Correct.
अभी कोई भी जो भी तू जा रहा है चल तू लगा दे. So now
That's
you're
the next
getting a
phase.
company like Pureblu who's helping them get reliable technicians.
Yes. So one is
Lovely.
not only getting reliable technicians, but we're wanting to use digital technology to train these guys real time.
True.
So on the platform, like if I can do predictive maintenance, I can train him.
Okay.
I can train him that, this is the problem. When you go do these things, watch this videos, you will understand how to use the right tools. Watch this video, what are the safety mechanisms? Watch these videos, what are the problems to look for? So that's the space that you want to do.
Nice.
So you add value to everybody in that ecosystem and eventually build a business which is monetizable, and there is a value proposition for everybody. Because if you fix that problem, not only you help everybody, you add value to your customer, add value to your partners, add value to the technician, but from a larger sustainability goal, you are saving the environment around. Because that 80% of the inefficiency that is coming in is in the installation and maintenance. So if that can be even brought down to 40%, that's a huge contribution. And that becomes the purpose for us as an organization. So it's much larger, and it drives all of us to stay connected to that purpose.
Yeah.
Everything else seems like a mundane job till we connected to that larger purpose that this is what we want to do, and then it excites us to come every day. So that's the kind of business model that we're building on, and we've actually wanting to take the tech play into that
And this
space.
becomes scalable.
Completely scalable, right?
And then there is no limit to it.
It's just no limit to it
So
at all.
awesome. So you started off with your in-laws business into air conditioning retailing, if I may use the right term.
Yeah.
Somewhere there.
Somewhere.
And then you helped Mitsubishi establish into India.
Yeah.
Then you did projects,
Yeah.
that system integration.
Yeah.
And now you are doing technology with air conditioning.
Absolutely.
So you've been in this entire space. You never let go air conditioning. You stuck to it.
So one is with every step you learn something. You're getting wiser, right?
Yeah.
Like through distribution, eventually what was my takeaway? You just got wiser with how you do business.
Yeah.
With projects, I still continue to be in the project business. That's a separate business.
I'm sure.
And that business, you learn that you can make money, but you can't
True.
scale.
That's a money churner, but it will not scale.
It will not
I mean,
scale.
if you had to pass it on to your son, it will not be able to, because the customer is giving business to Ajit.
Correct.
But the tech business, which is Pureblu, that is Ajit agnostic. Ajit is there, not there, the business is going to scale.
Absolutely. And why are you able to do it? Because you've been in that domain, right?
Right.
You are only in that HVAC domain, you understand the problems, you know that you suddenly believe that you are born to solve the problems of the industry.
Correct. Ajit, I think that's something very important, and I want to highlight this. The reason I was, talking to you about, what would be the most important part of the conversation that I'm going to have with you is you have stuck to an industry, because many people, what they do is when they face these kind of obscene competition and they don't know how do I move ahead, they generally leave the industry and do something else, related, unrelated.
Correct.
But you've been in the industry, stuck to it, and found different ways of doing it and doing it better. You collaborated with your competitors to become your partners today, and you all are going to grow together in the future.
See, the trick is, Sujit, most of us, I was just telling you also about this a little earlier. In India, we are only used to the idea of competing. We are born in that era where we were competing.
Scarcity, what you mentioned, yes.
Right? It was all about scarcity. So we were
आज
competing.
पानी आएगा नहीं आएगा हमको पता नहीं है.
So
We've been through that.
So we are tuned to scarcity.
Yeah.
That if I have to increase my market share by 10%, I have to figure out किसका मैं 10% दूँ.
किसका मैं
इसका 5, इसका 5, इसका 5. Now what happens if the market itself is growing exponentially? you can't be sitting and thinking like that. So you have to think of a different thing, and the trick is collaboration. You can't think in today's world that how only you can grow. You have to think how a community can grow, and your business will grow along with that. And when you collaborate and you know that these people also should grow your business, they are no more your competitors, magic is going to happen. And that's what we
That
need
mindset,
to understand.
yeah.
That mindset. India is at the cusp here of the growth.
Yeah.
It is impossible for one person to handle that growth.
True.
So when one person cannot handle it, then why not a few of us get together and we all get it, so that this growth that has come in remains with Indians.
Yes.
We are the biggest beneficiaries. This
and we
is
don't
wealth.
fight with each other.
Yeah, it is the wealth, no? This is the wealth that this country is offering you.
Right.
Why shouldn't you come together so we all get a fair share, rather than one person fighting, trying to get the maximum share?
Which doesn't happen. Either he's going to bleed in profits.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that shift in the whole entrepreneurship in India is going to be the big change. And more people who understand this
Realize and
will
understand.
move faster and will be more happier and will have an exciting journey.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people will say, business नहीं हो रहा है, ये problem है, cash flow का problem है, ये problem है. It's a never-ending story because you're in this constant competition mode.
So I think the important takeaway from this is, while you're doing your projects business like what you're doing, you find a niche or find a technology or find a collaborative mindset where you sit down and think, how can I collaborate with my existing competitors so that I am in this growth together with him, and rather I'm not worrying how do I take his business, or he's thinking the same from his office कि मेरे competitor का business कैसे लूँ.
Yeah, so because see, now what happens is most of my competitors are using my platform.
True.
Now because they trust me, they use it. After a few years, they have come up with such brilliant ideas that my platform is now getting co-created by the stakeholders.
Yeah.
These guys are saying, Ajit bhai, can you put this, this is the problem. I said, yeah, ये तो मैंने नहीं सोचा था. And then suddenly you start doing. So now it's a very rich platform which is created for that domain by that community. So you literally know that if you are in the HVAC business, Pureblu is the best platform.
Love
Because that is designed for that domain.
Yeah.
And it solves everyone's problem very quickly.
Lovely.
So that's the power of co-creation and collaboration, which I think a lot of us are still waiting to discover. I believe in it completely.
I'm sure this is just a start. In spite of how far you've gone, I think it's just a start, not only for the HVAC industry, but across, and people can think about how can they do this in their own industry.
True. And I think that should be there.
Yeah, that should be it. So moving ahead, you've been beyond air conditioning that you've been doing. What's been your area of interest, and how have been your contribution? I know you do a lot of podcasts, so just tell us more about it.
So this podcast was a very freak thing.
Okay.
Like in your case, during COVID, I figured out. So what happened is, in COVID, you had a lot of time, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that I started doing is I started listening to a lot of podcasts, and some of these podcasts were in the middle of the night, American US time. So I used to sit up and listen to all these webinars and everything. I realized it's a very powerful tool, of sharing knowledge and information.
True. In such a short span of time, you get to learn so much. And someone who's gone through that journey.
Correct.
What we have learned through our education system
Correct.
is a very bookish knowledge.
Correct.
And not sure whether this can be applied.
Absolutely. So at that time, I got the idea of getting into podcast. And I was very active in the industry. So we had an association for MSME, which was very small.
Focused on the HVAC.
HVAC.
Okay.
These are all MSME. There's an association called as Refrigeration and Air Conditioning Trade Association. We had only about 170, 180 members in Mumbai. And we said that, can I use this to, rejuvenate everybody? Can we send out hope? Can we send out that, this power of collaboration? Is there a way? And everyone was sitting at home. So I figured a way out that what are the two things people have on their phone? WhatsApp and YouTube. They have it on their phone.
Right.
So I said, can I use a combination of these two and reach out to more and more people sitting at home?
Mm-hmm.
So I started a series called as Business Chunautia.
Okay.
Challenges that you face in business focused on the HVAC domain.
Okay.
And we ran, and every month, one session of 1 hour. and it involved about a specific topic, specific industry. We used to bring in stakeholders, and we used to ask them what are the problems they faced, what are the challenges you had, and what could be the probable solutions. And it is available for everyone to see it live on YouTube or at a later stage. We ran that for 2 years, 24 episodes, 24 different. But here is a big takeaway. That 170, 200 odd member, which was only based in Bombay, today we are in 13 cities, 13 committees, and 2,500 companies as our members, and we are one of the most powerful MSME organizations for the HVAC industry.
Nice.
It was such a fantastic experience.
I'm sure.
That, you felt like, it almost seemed impossible, and now suddenly, my God, magic is happening. It's just fantastic. So I got into podcast that way. I saw the end result. Then, of course, my second podcast was with Ascent.
Yeah.
So where I did Ascent Talks. That was again primarily to get Ascent message. There I did about 50 odd episodes.
Nice.
Then the last one which I did was Life.ev, which is Life Exploring Values.
Okay.
That was about 52 episodes. Each episode about 20 minutes. That's with Vivek Asrani, family to me. And he's written a book where he has reflections every week.
Okay.
So we kind of compiled 52 reflections, and we spoke about it for
More at a
20
philosophical level.
A little more of philosophical, but all these things, is it practically possible in today's world? We're trying to talk about like ethical business. Is it possible to do ethical business? And then we try to debate and see to what extent it is possible, or to what extent you might strive. The idea being, can we start societal conversations around this? Can we build ethical businesses? Can we build scalable businesses? And while we go about making wealth, are these social values important? How do they bring balance into your life? So that was the whole idea. We put 52 episodes together for that.
Lovely.
And so that's been my podcasting journey.
Lovely.
So it's
nice.
just about sharing these informations and getting together. So
Great.
that's how it's been.
So what's the kind of space outside business that you are in currently in? Mental state of mind?
So for me, of course, in terms of mental state, for me, it's like, one is being healthy is very important. So I kind of make sure my fitness regime continues. I don't miss out on that.
That's nice.
I've been to marathon.
Okay.
I do a lot of running.
Okay.
Unfortunately, there has been an injury that's kind of curtailed down, but I've done the Ladakh marathon. I've done the various marathons kind of stuff.
Awesome.
I do a lot of trekking, so I love my trekking space. It's a big learning. I go to the Himalayas every year.
Nice.
Take 7 days where there's no phones, nothing.
Okay.
And you come back and you realize that you're not so important. You give too much importance to yourself, but the world runs, business runs,
it won't
family
matter
runs.
if you're not there.
Actually, yes. Sometimes you feel it.
Feel that you're very important, but actually it's not.
So sometimes you just feel, that listen, they do a much better job than you can do.
True.
But I love that little me time for myself, so I do marathoning. I blog quite a bit.
Nice.
I enjoy blogging. I like to put my thoughts across there. I do editorial stuff for my industry and for the cricket club, and I am an enthusiast with tech. So I've deployed a lot of artificial intelligence into my business over the last 5-6 years.
Nice.
So now I do AI sessions for business. I do it just pro bono, just to my different, but I've ended up doing about 50-60 odd such sessions.
Lovely.
Just to share information,
Great.
meet, and just see how we can, the whole thought process is how we can grow together. And how we can actually, I strongly believe India is at a great opportunity.
Yeah.
And we are very fortunate that we are matured entrepreneurs.
True.
But we can't get complacent about it. We need to take it to the next level so that we leave a very healthy legacy behind. So that keeps me going. So I end up doing all these things because that's the common link between everything.
Wonderful. So for a listener who's around 20, 25, who's listening to you, what would be a message that you want, if you were 20, that you would want to give them?
Okay. So one thing is, our academics teach you to become great managers and, get great jobs. The truth is, there isn't enough jobs. Okay. With AI coming in and with 1.1 billion people, let's assume the government does 110% of what it is committed. They cannot create the number of jobs that you can get. So there aren't enough jobs for the number of people here. Come to terms with
उसका
that.
realization होना बहुत जरूरी है.
Very important. So the realization is extremely important. Flip that. Why are you looking for your job for yourself?
True.
Can you do something where you can create 10 other jobs? You don't have to be a unicorn or a startup.
True.
The biggest, the most powerful micro entrepreneurs is that panwala sitting there.
True.
He not only feeds himself, he feeds another one or two people.
True.
Think simple, but think about running your own enterprise. Be an entrepreneur.
True.
Create wealth. That is how that wealth is going to create.
Correct.
And it's a journey. Nothing happens overnight.
Yeah.
Businesses get built over years. Even to break it, first you have to learn to survive.
Correct.
So the first 5-6 years is you have to learn to survive in running a business. And once you learn to survive, then you can thrive. So for youngsters, look at entrepreneurship as a career.
So move from a job mindset to an entrepreneurial mindset. And it doesn't matter that you have to build a unicorn. If you can build it, nothing like it. But start small and keep building.
Correct. And the opportunities, come. And see, most people today in the startup ecosystem also say, I've got a great idea. Okay. I only need money. I don't believe that. First of all, 1 billion people in this country have got at least 2 ideas. So there's nothing great about having an idea. You can walk out and the guy who is sitting there in that hot sun as a watchman, whom you call him as a security, you ask him a simple question. Give me 2 things that India should do to become good. He'll give you 2 ideas.
Sure. Everyone has ideas.
Everyone has ideas. So the power is not in the idea. The power is in the execution. How do you get out there and execute? And sometimes to execute, you don't need lots of money. And once you execute correctly and you show, money chases you.
Correct.
And that's but you need to have
that mindset कि पैसा नहीं है इसके वजह से मैं नहीं कर सकता हूँ, उससे हट के पैसा आ जाएगा, पहले चालू तो करो. Figure out a way.
Do small things, do small things, and you should have the patience to play this game. Right? You can't come and say that 1 साल में.
It's not a 100-meter dash, it's a marathon.
It's a marathon. You have to play that 5 years, 6 years, survive, get into the domain, get into the nitty-gritties of the whole thing, and then you will figure out how to thrive.
There is this 10,000 hour rule written by Malcolm Gladwell, where 3 साल 10,000 hours is practically around 3 years. 3 years के पहले तो don't expect anything.
Absolutely.
उसके बाद कुछ होगा. So you have to be in this for the long run, and you have to keep putting and move from the job mindset is what I can understand.
See, and why not? Because, a generation before us had responsibilities. They had to take care of their children, their parents, debts and all that stuff. Today's middle class generation has no responsibility. They only have to think about themselves.
True.
The parents have become independent.
Yes.
So, you are already at an advantage position.
Yeah.
So, where you don't have to, where no dependence, what is it that you're going to do with your life? That in itself
is a big advantage.
What is it that you're going to do with your life here? And then you're going to keep chasing to find another job which doesn't exist, or you want to create another 10 jobs. That mind shift is very important.
Superb. I would want to close it on this note. Superb. This is something that I live by, and I keep telling everyone around me that you need to be an entrepreneur, and not necessarily you need to run a business by yourself. You need to have an entrepreneurial mindset, and if you can run a business, nothing like it.
True. Very true.
So I have 2 last questions for you, which we generally have for all our guests.
Sure.
One is, for the continuity of this podcast, we ask for references from your circle. Either could be from Ascent because you're a fellow Ascent member, or from outside whom you could suggest who could be good guests for our podcast. Any names that come to your mind?
So, I like to actually introduce you to actually quite a few people, but one very interesting person is Siddharth Shetty.
Okay.
Siddharth was in Singapore, who set up an IT company, exited, and came back to India and set up a wellness company.
Okay.
So, he's got a very interesting story.
Lovely.
And equally entrepreneurial.
Lovely.
So, probably I'll introduce you to him.
Please.
You should actually meet up with him and listen to his story. And then many more people like that. So, I can actually give you a whole list of people, but this is the top of the line.
Just send me the list, whatever. Siddharth, please share his number and other names that come to your mind. Just send me.
I will send you some very interesting stories there.
And the last one is, you've done the podcast. You yourself have done over 100 episodes. So how do you find this, and what are your last words as far as this podcast is concerned?
So you keep going on this one. That's so very clear. Because see, sometimes, you do things not for views and monetization and everything. karma is a full circle, right? We're very fortunate. We can't be living this world only having taken everything.
Yeah.
It has to be a full circle that you give. Now, you don't know how to give sometimes. So you just keep sharing whatever resources you have.
True.
So by doing this podcast, God knows today, God knows 5 years down the lane, 10 years, even if one guy has benefited,
True.
you've done your bit, yeah?
Yes.
You might not know how you contributed, but
Yes.
you just added to that ecosystem, no?
Yes.
So you've done your bit.
Yes.
So I think that's the whole thing, that you just need to keep going onto
going,
it
yeah.
and keep making it happen. So you never know where is that big impact you're going to create. You might never realize it, but the very feeling that किसी को फर्क पड़ेगा is good enough.
किसी एक को भी फर्क पड़ गया तो.
Good enough.
Yeah, lovely. Thanks on that, and those were really nice words. And for me to keep going doing this podcast, you're the 75th guest.
Awesome.
I'm happy that we could have you. Thanks, Ajit. Lovely meeting you in person.
Pleasure. Thanks for the invite. It's been a pleasure sharing my thoughts with you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.